What's up, guys, and welcome to a new episode of Spartan Ownership. And today I want to talk about Jocko Willink. So this video is titled 10 Lessons I Learned from Jocko Willink. Jocko Willink, for those of you that don't know, is a Navy SEAL and was the commander of the most award-winning Special Forces unit, or better yet, the best Special Forces unit in Iraq during the war. And he has written a book called Extreme Ownership. He's also written another book called The Way of the Warrior Kid. And he's coming out with a third, I believe, called Discipline, the Field Manual, or something like that. And he has been a truly influential person in my life in the past year or two now. He has an amazing podcast. Just look him up, Jocko Willink. You'll find his podcast. It's all about being a man and being a warrior as well. It's very similar to what I talk about, and I learned so much. I mean, there's not that many people out there these days that you can learn from, like Jocko Willink. You know, if you look at who the mainstream media glorifies, it's Justin Bieber, Kanye West, Kim Kardashian, you know the names. And I think that should be changed, and people like Jocko Willink, you know, people that are true warriors, people that stand up for something, should be the ones that are being glorified, and not these dumb kind of celebrities that really add no value besides the fact that they, you know, look a certain way or sing a certain way. I mean, all that's good. I mean, I love beautiful women and I love music and all that, but at the end of the day, I mean, I don't think we need more just celebrity faces. We need more warriors. We need more strong men, you know, to look up to, especially for the young men. I mean, look at what's going on today. You guys already know the pussification of mankind is happening. So the next step, I believe, is to just simply start looking at the right role models and paying attention to what they're doing on a daily basis, as opposed to, you know, useless celebrities, basically. So without further ado, let's jump in to the 10 lessons I learned from Jocko Willink. Number 1, discipline equals freedom. Now, that's a life-changing quote to me, and something that Jocko talks about often. And that basically simply means that to get the freedom you want in life, be it financial freedom, be it the freedom to be healthy and energized and to do whatever it is you want, the freedom to have an amazing relationship with a woman, the freedom to have a great band of brothers, the freedom to have to be happy, to have peace of mind, you must discipline your thoughts, you must discipline your emotions, and you must discipline your actions. You're not going to get freedom unless you do all that, because if you don't have the discipline to work out, how are you going to have the freedom to enjoy health? If you don't have the discipline to hustle, to put in the work into your business or into your career, how are you going to have the freedom of finance to do whatever you want, the abundance, you know, to go wherever you want? If you don't discipline your thinking, your emotions, and things of that nature, how are you going to have the freedom to have an amazing relationship with the person you love? It's just not going to happen, because otherwise you'll just give way to impulse, you'll give way to reactions, you'll react to life as opposed to be proactive. And as you know, one of my favorite quotes of all time is, a warrior acts and a fool reacts, and a warrior is disciplined. Lesson number 2 from Jocko Willink is that extreme ownership means owning everything in your world. So, in other words, a leader is someone who takes extreme ownership of their world. You know, when I talk about Spartan ownership, it's very similar philosophy and mindset. You know, it means taking full responsibility for your life. So in that same way, extreme ownership means owning everything in your world. A good leader owns everything in his world. So if you're the leader of, say, a company, then whoever's under you, you know, your managers and other employees, you must own everything within that world. You must make sure and be responsible for whatever's in that world. If it's not succeeding, then that is on you if you're the leader. Lesson number 3 from Jocko Willink is that combat is life, only intensified. So that's an interesting metaphor. You know, combat is life, only intensified. And it's a metaphor that if you're not familiar with it, it might not really make sense. What do you mean combat is life? We're not fighting on a daily basis, but in truth we are. A warrior is constantly struggling with something. Everything in life has some degree of conflict, whether that's conflict within or conflict without. Conflict, this morning when I got up at 5:30, that was a little bit of a conflict right there. Deep down I didn't really want to get up that much, but I pushed through. I won that battle. So combat is life, only intensified. That's why you must bring a warrior mind to everything that you do in life. Now, there is a time for being, a lover and everything, but all of that is mixed with the warrior, because the warrior is ultimately the mindset that allows you to break through barriers, that allows you to push through your comfort zone, that allows you to win those daily little battles, whether it's with your thoughts, disciplining your thinking. That's a battle right there too. Your thoughts are running wild, your emotions are running wild. You must win the battle against them, and your business, when you're reaching out to clients or whatever it is you do for work, it's a battle as well, because you have to go out there, you have to put in the work. You're like shooting rounds, ammunition, you're a soldier. You got to wake up, you got to get to the mission, and you got to execute. That's why combat is like life, but just intensified, because obviously combat is a lot more intense than what most people face on a daily basis. Lesson number 4 from Jocko Willink is that there are no bad units, only bad officers. And that right there is life-changing to me. And in his book Extreme Ownership, Jocko talks about this story when he was conducting Navy SEAL training, and he witnessed a pretty amazing phenomenon that explains that lesson. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Navy SEAL training, they go through BUDS, and in BUDS they have this training process that involves basically doing an obstacle course with a boat, and it's really grueling. You have to do several rounds. It's basically like I believe it's 6 men. They have to carry a boat on their head, and then they have to walk with it for miles and miles, go into the beach with it, race against other guys, then they get out, walk on it on their head again, etc. It's really insane. It's not uncommon for someone to break their neck during this process. And this is 5 days straight, 24 hours a day of working out. They probably get 3 or 4 hours of sleep in those 5 days. It's very intense. So he basically witnessed that there was 2 boat crews, right? One crew versus the other, and they had to race. And one crew was doing exceptionally well, and each crew has a leader. So one crew was doing exceptionally well, and the other one was lagging behind constantly. And what they did was they experimented. They took the leader from the boat crew that was doing exceptionally well, and then they switched it with the boat crew leader that wasn't doing exceptionally well. So they basically just switched leaders between the 2 boat crews. And what they witnessed was pretty amazing. The boat crew that was not doing well, just with a simple change of the leader, automatically started doing way better than the other crew. And then the other crew that had the good leader now switched off and had the worst leader. Boom, they started lagging behind. So that just goes to show that there are no bad units. It's not really the fault of the group, but it's the fault of the leader, only bad officers. So really important stuff here, and another way that shows you that a leader really does own his world and is responsible for his world. Lesson number 5 from Jocko Willink is decentralized command. Give people the ability to come up with their own plan. So decentralized command is, there's more to it than just giving people the ability to come up with their own plan. But basically it means that as a leader, you can't be responsible for, more than a few people, because otherwise you're going to be micromanaging and it's just not going to work. You need to be able to decentralize your command. You can't just be responsible for every single aspect and every single person, if there's beyond 4 to 6 people per se. If you're in a large organization, this is especially relevant. And it basically means that, let's say you're like the general of the military. Then you got the I don't really know the ranks, but then you got the 2 other ranks beneath that, and then it goes on and on and on until you basically reach private. So as a general, you're not going in there and micromanaging everybody. Instead, you lead with a vision and you communicate that vision extremely powerfully and in a way that you truly believe in, and you just pass that information down the chain. So decentralized command basically means that you educate the leaders underneath you and make sure that they truly grasp the vision of the mission, and you allow them to do their own thing. Don't go in and start micromanaging everybody, because people don't want to be micromanaged. People want to be able to lead themselves. As long as you give them a clear idea of the vision and a clear purpose for doing it, let them do their own thing, and that's how they'll be more likely to execute. Because if you go in and you start micromanaging everybody, they're not going to really be willing to execute on your plan. They don't want to just take orders from you and not think. People want to think. People want to come up with their own plan. People want to feel like they're in control. So give people the ability to formulate their own plan, come up with their own plan, and that's how they'll execute it better. Just make sure that the leaders underneath you understand the vision and the purpose of the mission, and that's it. Once they got that, give them the ability to execute and come up with the plan on their own. That's how they'll be more willing and more enthusiastic about it all. Lesson number 6 from Jocko Willink is that a great leader knows how to check his ego. So he often mentions that bad leaders are constantly blaming everybody else. They're constantly getting mad at everyone, and they oftentimes fail, and they don't recognize their role in that failure. So being able to check your ego as a leader is extremely important, because once again, Jocko Willink goes on to say that great leaders are humble. They know how to be humble and take ownership, take responsibility for their errors. And that includes taking responsibility for the people underneath them as well. So if something messes up, they don't go, well, John wasn't doing his part, and Sam gave me all the load of the task, and this and that, and pointing fingers one after the other. That's not how it works. All right. A great leader says, oh man, I messed up because I didn't get a good night's sleep beforehand, so today I was all messed up and I was tired and just emotional, and I ended up reacting instead of being proactive and following the procedure. That's an example of being humble and checking your ego. It's admitting your own faults, and ultimately that's how you succeed. If you keep blaming everybody else, you're never really going to learn. And once again, I think true power lies in taking 100% responsibility, and I feel like Jocko would agree on that. Lesson number 7 from Jocko Willink: don't be a tortured genius. So this is kind of similar to what I just said, but basically a tortured genius is an analogy that he came up with, and that I like, and I think it's funny. A tortured genius is a person who basically thinks that they're really smart and intelligent, and that everybody else is basically preventing them from succeeding and preventing them from accomplishing the mission. So they're constantly blaming everybody else, and no matter how obvious they're messing up, no matter how obvious their mistake is, they just go on blaming everybody else and never putting the magnifying glass on themselves. So it's basically like a prima donna is another word for it, I'd say. So don't be a tortured genius. Lesson number 8 from Jocko Willink: the connection between action and consequence must be clear to modify behavior. So if you're a leader and you're in a group situation, make sure that the people within your group understand the relationship between their actions and the consequences that'll happen. So if you're in a group and you're trying to maintain a high standard, whether it's in your business or whether you're just in a group of guys and you want this group to be all about growth, discipline, helping each other out, holding each other accountable, if you want to enforce that high of a standard, make sure that the relationship between action and consequence is clear. So if somebody keeps coming in late, if a guy in your group keeps, or in your company keeps showing up late to work or to the group meetings, or isn't maintaining and upholding the standard that you guys set for yourself, make sure that there's a consequence for that behavior. Because if you just tolerate it, eventually, one bad apple spoils the bunch, and that low standard from that one person is going to impact the whole group, and performance is going to go down. So make sure that there's consequences for that type of behavior. And it doesn't mean you have to like be crazy and start hitting people. I don't even think you think that, but it means that make sure that people know when they're messing up. Like I'll give you an example. Maybe you can set up a rule. If you show up late, you got to put $10 in the box or something. That's kind of silly, but the point is there's a clear consequence for not maintaining the standard. Lesson from Jocko Willink number 9 is know your why. And see, Jocko Willink is obviously not the first person to talk about this, knowing your why stuff. But it's interesting that even he talks about it, because I would imagine that someone in the military, especially in Navy SEALs, just is disciplined for the sake of being disciplined. Like they just do whatever it is that the commander tells them to do. But knowing your why is extremely important to execute your goals and tasks and the mission, because that's what will give you the power. That's what will give you the enthusiasm and the drive. If you have a proper why, that will give you the drive because you believe in what you're doing. If you believe in what you're doing, you're so much more effective than if you're half-assing it and you're clueless as to why you're doing something. So knowing your why is pretty much important for everything in life, but especially in a leadership scenario. Know why you're doing this vision, and that'll help you be a better leader. But also know your why in everything you do. Know why you go to the gym. Why do you do martial arts? Know your why for why you're in a relationship with whoever you're with. Know your why with the friends you're with. Make sure your why is clear, and that'll give you the driving force to push through any discomfort or laziness or lack of motivation, because the why will last. Motivation is up and down, but the why is forever. And lesson number 10 is how to win the first battle of the day. And the first battle of the day is discipline starts with waking up early. That's how Jocko puts it. Now, I know that's not a very black and white, if you don't wake up early, you're not a disciplined person type of thing. But what I've found is that waking up early really does set the tone for the rest of the day. I mean, it makes you feel amazing, and it makes you feel like you've won the first battle of the day, because most people can't get up early because they start making excuses. They start getting too comfortable, too addicted to their bed. They don't want to face their life, so they just oversleep, keep pressing snooze. But getting up early, even if you don't have to, really does set the tone for the rest of the day. It really just leaves you feeling refreshed, like you got up early and you got after it. And I think there's really some truth to that. I don't even know why. I mean, I guess you could wake up at 10 a.m., even if, like, say you go to sleep late, but then you get up at 10 a.m. and then you have a disciplined day. I guess that's legit. But there's something about just waking up early, like in the early hours of the day, and getting after it. That's pretty magical. And if Jocko does it, shit, I'll do it too. I don't follow people blindly, but guys like Jocko, to me, they're right until proven wrong, not wrong until proven right. So those were 10 lessons from Jocko Willink, Navy SEAL. Let me ask you, do you have somebody holding you accountable to achieve your vision and your purpose? Do you have somebody that pushes you on a daily basis relentlessly so that you succeed? Do you have somebody that truly knows what you're going through and is truly dedicated to helping you grow and succeed and live your life to the highest standard you've ever thought possible? Well, that's exactly what Spartan Accountability is. See if you qualify. Go to SpartanAccountability.com, book a free consultation with me, and we'll see if you qualify. I got some clients right now, and they are disciplined like never before. And having friends hold you accountable is really great and everything, but at the end of the day, they're friends and they have their own life. And a lot of times, you can't rely on them 100%. But a coach, an accountability/strategy coach, is someone that you can rely on 100% because that's their job, literally. So check out SpartanAccountability.com, or just email me at maximilian@spartanownership.com, or SpartanAccountability.com, it's your choice. And that's MAXIMILLIAN @SpartanOwnership.com.